Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. I hope you guys are all doing well today. Today we are bringing something new to CVU. We're going to have a fire chat discussion between Dr. Azra Raza, our guest speaker, and Dr. Shabih Zaidi, our founding chancellor of CVU. I hope you will all get a chance at the end of the discussion to chime in and share your input and also ask any questions. Don't lose the opportunity. Dr. Azra is very hard to get hold of. So while she's here, take good advantage of her knowledge and experience. Just to introduce, I'm going to start with Dr. Shabih Zaidi. I know we all know him very, very well. I don't need to say much, and I know whatever I say won't be a justice to him, but he is the founding chancellor of CVU, and he is the backbone of CVU. And he is also a professor of ENT and a surgeon of head and neck. I'm going to introduce Dr. Azra Raza because I don't have medical background, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce some of the words, so please forgive me for that. Azra Raza is the Chan Soon Shoing Professor of Medicine and Director of the Edward P. Evans Foundation, MDS Center at Columbia University, a practicing oncology, seeing 30 to 40 cancer patients weekly. She also directs a cancer research lab, the recipients of 3 serial endowed chairs and an honorary PhD. Raza has collected over 60,000 longitudinally drawn blood and marrow samples from thousands of patients with pre-leukemia and acute myeloid leukemia. She met with President Biden to plan the cancer moonshoot and with President Bill Clinton for 3-day breakthrough in science and technology retreat, describing her groundbreaking ideas in the highly acclaimed best-selling book, The First Cell, The Human Cost of Pursuing Cancer to the Last. Raza is devoted to shifting the healthcare focus from treatment to early detection and prevention. Azra is a founder and director of the Scientific Advisory Board of the First Cell Therapies, Inc., the owner of thousands of books in English and Urdu, with over 100 videos on her YouTube channel on subjects ranging from cancer to poetry. I really enjoy her poetry videos. If you haven't heard it, please go find it and listen to them. Raza co-authored Ghalib, dedicated to translation and interpretation of poetry. This is I think, the smallest and very minimum introduction of Dr. Azra Raza. She is an amazing person. And every time I meet her, I am really excited and I am very thrilled that we have her today. Dr. Shabih Zaidi, you and Dr. Azra Raza can take over from here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sakina. Let's begin with her library. Every time I visited her home, whether it was in Chicago or New York, where she lives in a very posh area, the first thing that impresses me or it catches my eye is the number of books that she has. Her all walls are lined with bookcases, and all those books are all kinds of things, from ancient mythology to modern philosophy and religious, and as well as poetic and everything. So I asked her once that, have you read all these books? She said she showed me a book or two. She had actually marked them with the comments and everything. So see, she's a very well-read person. Otherwise, welcome to this fireside chat. I mean, CV is obliged that you've given time. You are a celebrity, and like I was telling you a moment ago, I was attending this lecture at Imperial a couple of weeks ago, and somebody mentioned your work. They didn't call it First Cell, it's the original cell. So you'll tell us more about it. But let me begin at the beginning. I've known Azra for, God knows, 4 or 5 decades. She was a young student at Dramatical College, and I was a teacher. I had just gone back after doing my FRCS from Edinburgh, and she and I and the whole family all everybody became friends. I mean, those are different days. I mean, teacher and student, but there was respect and dignity, but there was also informality also. Like she always calls me Shabih rather than professor or teacher or whatever. So we've been friends. Azra's work is immense, it goes without saying. So let's start with a basic discussion. I'm a surgeon. The knife, the book, I'll show you, this is a book that I wrote some, God knows, 50 odd years ago, Oral Cancer. And in this book, I mentioned that knife is not the answer. There will be an answer. And I gave the example that when I was a student, tuberculosis was treated with pneumonectomies. And we had a teacher, Professor Shirazi, used to do lung resections regularly for TB. There was no streptomycin in those days. It had just come up, but it was far too expensive. So streptomycin and all the drugs changed the complexion of the game altogether in streptomycin. So I've written this book that one day will come when cancer will not see the knife, but something else will come up. And Azra is going to tell us about it. So let's start with that, Azra.
Thank you very much, Shabih. Thank you, Sakina, for that wonderful introduction. I'm feeling very intimidated because I'm in the company of my professor, my hero, somebody I've admired and respected, Shabih Zaidi. Has been a role model since I was 17, or actually before, because our families were friends. So I used to see him as a very handsome young man coming over to see my brothers and sisters. I've been your admirer, and thank you so much. Whatever I am today is thanks to you, Shabih. So I just want to begin by saying how deeply humbled I am that you agreed to be in conversation with me. Thank you very much. I think Emily Dickinson said it best in 4 lines. Surgeons must be very careful when they test their knives. Surgeons must be very careful when they test their knives, for underneath their fine incisions rests the culprit, life. In other words, you could remove a tumor, you could remove a wart with your knife, but then underneath your fine incision rests the culprit, life. You are not curing all the psychic violations, the rest of the violations that have gone with that knife, with the slash, poison, burn we use. So the point you have raised right at the beginning is a deeply and profoundly serious one. And I have been very concerned, and I would love your opinion about this, Shabih, that somebody like you has been so enlightened and aware that one day we need a better solution. Yet there has been a total lack of imagination in our fields. People are just continuing to chase after trying to kill the last cell instead of thinking about, okay, this is what we have to do now because we don't have a better option. But can we imagine something better for the future? Shouldn't we invest half the sum of money that we are investing in treatment into finding and revolutionizing early detection? I don't see that happening for 40 years. I want to ask you, Shabih, you've been practicing in several countries, more recently in the UK. Tell me, what is the reason?
I think the reason is obvious that when a patient comes with a cancer, he wants instant relief. So with surgery, you can remove a mass and show it to the patient in a chart that this is the mass that's come out. Molecular physiology or pathology that you're dealing with at a cellular level is invisible to a patient. So when he sees that the tumor has been removed, he feels that something has been done. Although we know that it's not cure, because like I mentioned, I wrote in my book also some 40 years ago that cancer cannot be treated with surgery. Surgery is only a measure to remove that mass. The reason that people are not investing into basic research is very simple. In the developing countries, there are no funds. The patient needs instant relief. In the developed countries, it's only with people like yourself that the orientation and awareness is just beginning to develop. It'll take a while. I mean, you're doing such phenomenal work, and you've been doing it for many years. You've got the largest collection of samples that started from Chicago, and now you have in New York. So people are beginning to realize that we have to find out the original cell, the first cell that initiates the whole process. This is the thing that goes wrong at the beginning. We have to prevent that somehow, and that is where your role comes in.
Thank you. I agree with your answer, but if you don't mind, I'd like to add two other things to it.
Sure.
The first is that we go to medical school with a certain mindset. We want to treat disease, we want to cure disease. So we never think about prevention. I think doctors are very guilty of this because we wait for the patient to come see us. Yes, today the patient is coming to see you, but why aren't you thinking about tomorrow and saying, maybe I can imagine a better future for tomorrow? So it's not the patient's fault. They want to come and be cured, but it's the doctor's lack of imagination and lack of vision for a better future. That's number one. And number two, I'm afraid that because I've lived in America now for 49 years, what I can say is that in the end, it's always the money trail. For all the years I've been here, Shabih, what I have seen is that if you financially incentivize any goal, that's where the whole field turns. So if the only grants are available for studying metastatic disease, then no one is going to be able to study anything else because that's where your grants are. And if it is the field's decision that we have to create models of disease in animals or make organoids or in vitro cell lines, and the money is offered to do that, then young people who need to build their careers, get their grants, they have to just apply for those. So I feel like, number one, doctors have failed patients. And let's just face it. Instead of patting ourselves on the back all the time, we need to admit it. Number two, institutions have abdicated their responsibility to patients by allowing this to continue. Because they are the ones giving out grants. We have billions of dollars of money available. There's no lack of or no dearth of resources. Where they are being invested is the problem. And who decides that? Those are the people who are responsible. Number three, pharmaceutical industry. I don't blame them so much, Shabih, because their whole goal is to make money for their shareholders. They don't hide that goal. Their only reason to come and talk to me in the lab is, hey, Dr. Raza, what kind of new insight have you developed that I can commercialize? And that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
So they're the last ones I want to blame. And then I think, in addition, I think academia is one of the worst offenders. They sit in their ivory towers and they hire hundreds of PhDs who we need to bring grants, and grants will only come in whatever grants are being offered in. Now, all this has been, all of cancer research, at least 95% has been handed over to PhD scientists. The problem is PhD scientists never see a patient.
Mm.
They have no understanding really of what a clinical disease is like, how complicated it is, how hugely malevolent this beast is. It's not easy to slay it. And I feel like creating, not only studying a disease you never see, but in animals who don't get the disease spontaneously. A mouse doesn't get a leukemia, but we force cells into it by killing its immune system and then study it and claim, oh, I've cured this mouse, and now expect that that will work in humans. So, I mean, it sounds so surrealistic to me, Shabih. I can't tell you. Adults sitting around me day after day in big conferences at every university I've been, talking like this about cancer research, which is like 10 degree of separation from the patient's problem, actually. So I feel very frustrated.
Let me start with the academia. I mean, you're absolutely right. Medical education, the curriculum that we have, I mean, all over the world, and I've seen in many countries, it was outdated until recently. What I was taught, and then what I taught in my days was the result of a report published by a gentleman called Flexner in 1910. He was given the charge by the Carnegie Foundation that he should improve the quality of education. Now, he was not a doctor, he was a teacher. So he went around and summed up all the sciences and ignored all social sciences like philosophy and fields like humanities, etc., all sciences. And he wanted to produce a doctor who was a multi-purpose doctor, could be a surgeon, as a physician, an obstetrician, a pediatrician, and he did that. And we studied that, and I taught that subject until 1975. In 1975, when people like in McGraw and these universities, Dundee and Edinburgh, and of course Harvard, they started changing the pattern. So curriculum has been continually being modified since then, and now it's problem-based learning, interactive. I remember distinctly that I had a meeting with a professor of Karachi University in 1975 or 78. Professor Zaidi was a professor of genetics. And he used to ask me, why is it that you're not teaching genetics? Why are you teaching these subjects like zoology and botany? They're stupid things. The animals will, I mean, it's a waste of energy and time, pre-college. And so I discussed with Professor Wahid, who was the principal those days. He was a very kind gentleman, a great teacher. I'm sure you remember him.
Of course, I remember him.
Great teacher. So he said, categorically, "Hum kya kar sakte hain, jo hame bataya." Given the authorities tell us to teach her to do it.
Yeah.
So genetics was not considered to be a part of curriculum until very recently. And now, of course, it's inevitable. That's one. Second thing is that there is this constant element of greed, whether it's academia or professionalism or professional bodies or institutions or pharmaceutical industries. They're all greedy. Of course, they want money, and that is the whole thing. But they don't hide it either. I'm sure pharmaceuticals come to you and tell you that, it's X amount of money. Now, in the UK, as indeed in the developing countries like India and Pakistan, there are no funds for research. Research is supposed to be a thing that should be carried out in the developed countries, and we just harness that information. But like you said last time you were here in our house, that you get grants, people chase you from all over the places. It doesn't happen in the UK. That is the problem. UK doesn't have money. And that is why when people go for PhD, and I know some in my family, the youngsters are going for PhD, I'm a little concerned that from the clinical sciences going into PhD might be a waste of time. But they insist, because in the UK, you can't get a consultant's job unless you do a PhD. That is my view.
Well, I've thought long and hard about how to change this whole paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, as you pointed out, Shabih, earlier, that my whole life has been spent in trying to do this. So I came to this country, America, as a fresh medical graduate. And I started studying and treating acute myeloid leukemia. And before long, within a few years, I knew that in my lifetime, we will not be able to cure this disease. And sadly, I was right, because Shabih, I don't know if you know this or not, but in December, an article came out in the New Yorker written by President John F. Kennedy's granddaughter, Tatiana Kennedy, Schlossberg Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
She's 32 years old. She delivers a new baby. And that day, her white count was found to be in hundreds of thousands, all blasts. She is diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It is a heartbreaking article. Please read it. It's in the New Yorker.
I will.
She tells her story, Shabih. She received the best treatment possible in America. Granddaughter of President Kennedy. I mean, this is the royalty here. Treated at Columbia, gets the best treatment, gets one transplant from her sister, relapses, gets a second transplant from an unrelated person in Portland, and still at 32, she died in December.
Oh.
Now, the real tragedy is that in 1984, I diagnosed a new mother, JC. In my book, The First Cell, the entire chapter 5 is about this. JC delivers twin girls at 32 and develops acute leukemia. The saddest thing in both these two mothers, 32, 43 years apart, is that the treatment I gave JC is the treatment that we gave Tatiana. From 1984 to 2025, we use the same drug. This is such an embarrassment. But I don't want to sound immodest, but I knew that this disease is so deadly. I was treating only acute leukemia. At one time at Roswell Park, I would have anywhere from 20 to 25 acute leukemics that I was fully responsible for as an inpatient attending. And so I decided that how do you find a solution for cancer patients? Well, the only good news we can give them is we found it early, we can cure you because it's stage 1. Question and problem was, how do you find acute leukemia early? Because by the time you diagnose, blood has carried these cells all over the body. So it occurred to me that the only way to diagnose leukemia early is to find people who are at high risk of leukemia and start following them and try to stop the appearance of leukemia before they get it. There are people like that who just drop their blood counts, and 30% of them will go and develop acute leukemia. This disease, the pre-leukemia stage, is called myelodysplastic syndrome, or MDS. This is why in 1984, I turned my focus from only studying and treating acute leukemia to now going and finding all the pre-leukemia patients in northwestern New York that I could, and built a big clinic for myself where I started following dozens of these patients and saw them evolve to leukemia, started saving their blood, marrow, saliva, plasma, serum, any sample I could get. From 1984, longitudinally, as they're going through the course and natural history of their disease. But the problem was that, yes, I was collecting all these samples. We didn't have the right technology to examine the samples, and I didn't want to waste them, Shabih. I waited for technology to develop. It took us 15 years to sequence the human genome. And then once that was done, we started studying, and I published hundreds of papers on genomics, on transcriptomics, etc. The problem was we found that even pre-leukemia is already a form of cancer. We need to find something earlier than pre-leukemia. That's when I went to the first cell concept. And I realized that we are faced with two problems with cancer that are undeniable. Number one, it is a silent disease. It can reach stage 4 without producing any symptoms. And suddenly you go and you just have nausea and you find out, oh, I have cancer of the pancreas all over. So it's a silent killer. Number two, no age is immune. 2-month-old babies get it. 95-year-old people get it. So what is the ultimate solution? Ultimate solution is to continuously monitor the human body like a machine from birth to death. How do we do that? I've been working towards this goal, and now that the technologies are available, and let me just name them, I won't go into detail. The most important one is, of course, genomics, proteomics, transcriptomics, metabolomics. These multi-omic measurements are available. We can do them in just few drops of blood now, quite cheaply. Secondly, so why are those important? Because they tell us the biomarkers, the pieces of protein, pieces of DNA, pieces of RNA that can indicate that a stage is being set now for the first cell to appear. Because some organ is under stress and is not behaving normally, some chronic inflammation in liver, lungs, ovaries, something is going on, but everything gets shed into the blood. So you can use blood as a window into disease. That was number one. Second thing that came along, because the problem with these multi-omics is the amount of data they generate. We couldn't handle it until AI comes along. With artificial intelligence, we can now analyze petabytes of data in real time. And we can train these machine learning platforms to keep learning and become better and better and more accurate just by training them. That, hey, look at these 1,000 patients who went from pre-leukemia to leukemia. Here is their protein shed into the blood at pre-leukemia. Here is now at post-leukemia, when they got leukemia. And the machine will train itself. Next time you feed it a protein, it will say it's coming from pre-leukemia. Oh, no, it's coming from acute leukemia. Just by training it. Don't even have to find what that protein is. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to tell you a word now. There are two words that I have invented, which I have trademarked. That everyone is running after artificial intelligence right now. That's the name of the game. That's where all the money is, as you know. That's where all the grants are. You have to put AI in everything if you want anyone to take you seriously. Well, I said that I am combining, to me, AI is just a tool. And I'm combining it with another tool that I call implantable intelligence.
Oh, what's that?
That is this.
So what's this?
This is implantable intelligence. This is a syringe and a needle, and I say that this is the cure for cancer. And the cure is not in the syringe. The syringe doesn't contain a magic drug. It's in the needle. What's in the needle is a coronary stent that our biomedical engineers at Columbia, Sam Sia and Professor Ken Shepard, took a coronary stent and they have fabricated electronics onto it in such a way, Shabih, that now this stent can be placed in an arm vein and it will sit there and constantly monitor the appearance of large versus small cells. It can tell the difference. And biomarkers it will be able to detect. This is an implantable intelligence. This is a device that can be implanted into you.
Have you patented it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
This is amazing, isn't it? I mean, if you get something in the body which detects the first cell, then that is what you need, because you can diagnose it instantly.
Not only diagnose, Shabih, this thing can electrocute the cell. If it sees that a much larger cell has appeared that shouldn't be, it will just zap it out of existence. So I call it a smoke detector.
Sorry for interruption, but what is this larger cell that you're referring to? Is it a cell in the blood or molecular cell, or what cell are you referring to?
Well, any cancer cell, as you know, the largest blood cell is a white blood cell, which is in circulation, and that is about at most 15 microns. A red blood cell is 7 to 8 microns. A platelet is like half a micron to 1. So the largest cell in the blood should be 15 microns. Suddenly, if you see a 50 micron cell coming, where is that coming from? Pancreas, lungs, ovaries? What is shedding these cells? So I discovered these giant cells because in leukemia patients, because I started to filter the blood of my pre-leukemia patients 11 years ago. I set my lab up with a filtration device. And I would simply take 10 cc's of blood from my pre-leukemia patients, pass it through a filter to see if we could catch the first leukemia cell, which is leukemia blast is larger than a white blood cell. And that's what I wanted to catch. But then I found these giant cells. I don't want to go into details of that right now because we don't have enough time. I'd rather talk about, this is all published work. So people can go, anyone who's interested can go and look at it. They're called PGCCs, polyploid giant cancer cells. So they're giant cells and they have multiple nuclei. PGCCs, polyploid giant cancer cells, they're circulating and they are associated with recurrence. So, for example, I see a patient with colon cancer, stage 3B. I take out the cancer surgery, then we give chemo, we give radiation, we give immune therapy, we do everything. But it's stage 3B, so chances of relapse are quite high, 50-50, let's say. How do we now find the first cell of recurrence? That's where you can put this in. And as that first cell appears, you keep zapping it. So you can prevent recurrence in a way. Those will be my first subjects, Shabih. At the rate we are working right now, we believe that by 2029, which is not that far away, the first 50 people will be walking around with this.
So this is something which is available through your lab, or you will...
Not available, it's being developed. All
It's
these
being
things are being done as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
The prototype of this stent will be ready within 12 months. Then the next step is to put this prototype in large mammals, like pigs or dogs or rabbits even. We can't put it in mice because the stent is too large and veins of mice are too small. But we can put it in a large mammal, let's say in a pig or a dog, and simply pass giant cells through the blood and see if it can detect and zap. And if that happens, then within 2 years, we are ready for going to the FDA to apply for
Clinical trial.
investigational device exemption, IDE it's called. And because it's a coronary stent and coronary stents are put in all the time. By the way, I wanted to show you something. UK has beaten us in this.
Really?
Yeah. Not beaten in cancer, but I'll tell you what. I learned a lot from cardiologists because they realized like 30, 40 years ago that the solution, heart disease is the biggest killer. And by the time people come with 30% damage to their left ventricle, you have to give them a heart transplant.
Mm-hmm.
So they realize that's not the answer. We have to find it early. So what cardiologists have done is they've brought down mortality from heart disease by 70%, not by doing transplants or stenting, but by giving statins.
Yes.
And they've been still heart disease is beating cancer. I think they're neck to neck almost.
Yeah,
But
there was a news yesterday on TV about statins, that more people should use statins.
yes, absolutely. So I think that I learned a lot from cardiologists because they have understood that the real solution for these, for any human disease, has to be early detection and prevention, preferably. The same way that infectious disease people learned more than 50 years ago that it's not that we have antibiotics, so we should be very happy. No, we need vaccines.
Yeah.
For polio, diphtheria, for HP virus, for everything. We need to prevent. So infectious disease has been practicing prevention. Cardiology has been practicing. Cancer is the field where prevention, besides stop smoking or lose weight, they have no real scientific way to offer prevention. And that's what I've been reacting against, Shabih, all my life. But I learned from Henry Ford also. In 1909, Henry Ford said, if I had asked my customers what they want, they would have said a faster horse. I gave them an automobile. And he said, by the time a customer has to tell you what they want, you have already lost the game. You need to tell the customer what they need. And I realized that the only way to slay the dragon of cancer and change the mindset of all the people we talked about earlier on, academia, industry, institutions, all the agencies, philanthropies, how to change all their mind? Well, very simple. If you introduce a word processor, who's worried about the typewriter now? If you introduce a cell phone, who is worried about a rotary phone, dial phone, or having telephone booths at every corner? If you show the success of your new asset, new paradigm, then it automatically changes. That's what I want to do. If we show the success of implantable intelligence combined with artificial intelligence, I am saying, sitting here in this webinar, that the future of healthcare everywhere in the world depends on these miniaturized, automated, implantable devices that will change the paradigm of treating illness to maintaining wellness.
Now, there has been, about in terms of prevention, we always talk about smoking, for example, is an important cause of palm chewing and oral cancer, and people have promoted preventive strategies. What exactly do you have in mind in terms of preventive strategies for cancer? Like, you know about GI cancer, etc., but other cancers that are there in the body, like
I
blood
don't
cancer.
think anyone knows. I mean, in America, at every corner, there's a wellness clinic making millions off of people by offering voodoo stuff. Drink this juice, eat that ketogenic diet, do this exercise, it will improve your mitochondria. But there's no proof for any of this, Shabih. And you know how difficult it is to change human behavior. With smoking, we have known for 50 years that smoking is bad, but nobody gave up smoking until they had to make a rule that you cannot smoke in restaurants and you cannot smoke in airports. Otherwise, no one was ready to give up smoking. So what I'm saying is that the UK has been much smarter than us because they realized their cardiac researchers decided to make a stent, just like take a coronary stent and now put electronics on it to detect a plaque, formation of a plaque early.
Where
And
exactly?
sorry?
Institution where they've done this work?
It's in Glasgow, actually several institutions. I have tons of papers which I can email to you. If you're interested, I'll send them to you after this talk. But they are only doing it in vitro right now. We are far ahead of them because we have much more sophisticated electronics but they have already shown, for example, Shabih, that their stent can differentiate between an endothelial cell, which is small, and a macrophage, which is large, and a thrombus, which is a collection of cells. It can tell the difference, and that's why they can pick an early early plaque formation. So this is
beautiful.
Incredibly interesting. So all of cardiology will turn around once that stent becomes available, don't you think? Who's going to wait for anything? I mean, you just have that plaque and and you can go in and fix it. On the other hand, in America, they are not doing this kind of stuff as much, but they're doing a lot better in Neuralink, for example, all the BCI, the brain computer interface. And then they're doing, but in cancer, I was the one who 10 years ago went to our biomedical bioelectronics engineers and recruited them to work with me, because you have to have team of experts in different disciplines. So I'm very proud to say I put together a dream team, I call it, because we have oncologists, molecular biologists, cell biologists, multi-omic experts, AI experts, biomedical and bioelectronics engineers. We are all working together to do this. And in America, the other thing is that institutions immediately tell you, well, if you have such a great asset, we should commercialize it, make a company. And the university owns equity in the company. So it's a very good model because that's how capitalism works. So I want to give full disclosure that I'm the founder of a company called Predict, which is an acronym that stands for Precision Research in Early Detection, Integrating Cancer Technologies, Predict. And that's what our assets are two. The first is the Sentinel. We call the stent because it's a combination of sentinel and stentinel. So we call it the Sentinel. A stent that can serve as a sentinel. So this is the Sentinel. It's the implantable intelligence I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And the second asset is the multi-omics we can generate from the tissue repository, because having the stent is not enough. Now you need to know what should you detect from it.
Right.
What biomarkers, what cells. That's my part. That's what I'm telling them what to detect. And this team has worked so well. What I'm showing you here, Shabih, $100 million have gone into making this stent.
Already, yeah.
Yes, because they've been working on it for 10 years. Most of the money from the Defense Department in the US have funded our engineers, and I have received funds from all kinds of agencies. And so I'm saying that this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight. This is my life's work, obviously, as you pointed out. For 40 plus years, I've been saving samples, studying them, getting to find cells and biomarkers that are important. Now we are ready to put them all together and pass them through this stent in our labs and say it's detecting it, then go to animals and go to humans. How long will it take? As I said, by 2029, we should have the stent in the first 50. Okay, I'll stop here now and let you
Amazing,
ask questions.
amazing research, amazing knowledge. You're full of knowledge. And it goes on. It's like a monologue. You can't stop in the middle because I don't want to disturb your flow of thoughts. But we have some wonderful audience here. I can see
Yes.
a very senior surgeon, Ehsan Zaidi. Ehsan, would you like to comment or do anything or talk about it? You know Azra very well. Maybe you can start with poetic thoughts. Dr. Ehsan Zaidi?
I'll unmute.
Yes.
Professor Azra, as usual, you're
Can you
instilling us
also
with
put on your
a
video?
lot of knowledge.
We can't
Can you
see
hear?
you. No, also switch on your camera as well.
Okay, I'll switch on my camera.
Yeah.
Adab.
आदाब आदाब हमें न समझो हमें न छेड़ो कि हम हैं चरागे आखिर शब हमारे बाद अंधेरा नहीं उजाला है. The amount of knowledge you have given in the last half an hour is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, Professor Shabih, beloved Shabih Bhai is also full of knowledge. We can't, Professor Azra, we can't compare the medical education in the subcontinent and where you are. In the subcontinent where capitation fee is so prevalent, the only aim of the doctor is to retrieve that capitation fee in the first 5 years of his life when he becomes a doctor. So the thoughts are not on treatment or about the patient. Sadly, we are not taught the way we are taught today. We were not taught in the way we are taught today. So prevention was not there. As regards the surgeons, these are Nash/surgeons. We had a boss who was called Nash/ because he used to slash everything without realizing that the track of the knife and the track of the needle has already implanted the cells. And who knows how many cells are already present in the blood, which when given a favorable environment will make their appearance. Now, this original research about the first cell is so amazing, The blast cells, as Shabih, why you were trying to tell, we all learned those, and I can enumerate 2 or 3 cases which in my family have had. You talked about the granddaughter of such a big politician. We had a friend's, wife who during pregnancy contracted or, was diagnosed as acute leukemia. And despite all the treatment in Hammersmith, we couldn't save her. She gave birth to a boy who's still alive. And we're all the time, worried whether he will get anything, He's a very coveted child, as you can imagine. A lot of maybe side effects of the chemo he's had during the childhood. ADHDs and things and mental this thing, but very bright child studying law, but very, very difficult sort of person to maneuver and to contact. I don't know whether they are doing any more research on him, but he was a living example. Then my own cousin who went to India for a holiday, and he came back and I received him at Heathrow Airport. They said that he's got gastroenteritis, and within 24 hours we found that he's got an acute leukemia. and within 6 weeks he died with all the treatment uh, Hammersmith could offer. And in fact, Shabih's son-in-law was also consulted, and I mean, things are going in the pace which they should. But the research you're telling is amazing. Discovering a plaque with a stentinel is something out of the blue. It's a fairy tale for people here in this audience. And I'm seeing that Hussein is trying to give you a very good follow-up, that he is giving the audience reference to all the articles which are being sort of published. Hussein has been my student in one of these classes in St. Helier. Thank you very much for instilling us with knowledge. All I can say is, मंजर एक बुलंदी पर काश हम बना सकते, अर्श से परे होता काश के मकाम का.
Wow, wow, wow. Bahut shukriya, Ehsan. The other thing I'd like to say is that the Sentinel we have developed, Ehsan, that can not only detect cells and biomarkers for cancer, but it will be able to detect biomarkers for any disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, any chronic,
Excellent.
ALS, everything. Because this is what I tried to say, that what we are developing today is a prototype for cancer first, but we have two verticals already, one in cardiology, where we are also developing the same thing, but one for all these other chronic diseases. Because once you can detect the biomarkers, that's it. And our engineers have developed this, what we call SMFET, which is single molecule SM field electron transistor technology, SMFET. And with that, they can detect these tiny pieces of DNA and RNA and protein. And with machine learning, they can train the other thing is that the Sentinel that I showed you, the stent, once we put it in the arm, Ehsan, the entire 5 liters of blood in the body will go through that stent every 18 days. So it's not going to miss anything. And think about the way we are screening right now. A mammogram is done once every 2 years. Colonoscopy is done every 5 years. A PSA once a year maybe. So how much are you missing in between? That is why 40% cancers at diagnosis are already advanced, because we haven't been. And so compare that to what I'm proposing and now going to make it happen, inshallah, very soon, is that continuous monitoring of the entire blood in the body every 3 weeks on an ongoing basis. And the data being collected in the cloud and constantly being analyzed by and training itself to get better and better for that person.
Amazing.
Amazing technology and amazing invention, because that's how science progresses. I mean, a mad person, allow me to say that, like Azra, somebody who's
Acha, Shabih, I know you're my teacher, so I want you to be proud of me, because I want to show off a little.
Goes without saying,
No, I want to tell you what happened is that I got invited now to give the keynote address to the cardiac and thoracic surgeons annual meeting.
Excellent.
Just because of all these things I'm saying are applicable throughout every field now. So please tell your beautiful son and my student Ali to come and attend that in Chicago in May, because I'm going to give a talk that's going to blow them away.
There were Ali and Hussein. Hussein also. Hussein, do you want to talk about cardiology? It's a new thing that Azra has developed. You've been in cardiothoracic surgery for a long time. Go ahead and tell. You're studying at Imperial.
I think it is.
Dr. Azra here and also in our house there in New York.
Yes. Well, firstly, thank you for all the wonderful insight. I've learned so much in the last hour. And this is an incredible device, and I look forward to seeing the first inpatient studies later, maybe next year. Very exciting.
Are you doing something like that at Imperial?
Nothing similar as such. I'm working as part of a group project creating microneedle patches that detect pH changes in the skin interstitium to look for the Warburg effect caused by skin cancer. But it's very different.
But that's lovely. Thank you so much, Hussein, for being on the call. Of course, I showed you the Sentinel in person,
Yeah.
and you
Yes.
have attended clinics with me, seen patients with me. So you understand how we have a comprehensive approach towards research, because nothing can be removed from the patients. And this is what I kept drilling into you, Hussein, that no matter what you do, don't stop seeing patients ever. Now, in terms of the Sentinel, I wanted to say to you, Hussein, that right now we are putting it into the vein, but that will always have some 1 to 2 to 5% patients could still have thrombosis, endothelialization, complications from the stent. So simultaneously, we are working on a device that can simply go on the skin over the vein
Wow.
and
Oh,
start detecting directly from, so you don't have to implant anything. You just, so you know how it is. Once a technology comes, before it's commercialized, the next generation of it
Yeah.
has already arrived, and the next and the next. Because once we have it, we'll keep improving it. You know that. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Would you like to talk a little about AI and deep learning and all these things that are coming up? They could be
Yes.
ethically challenged in many ways. People are abusing it to a great extent. I mean,
They can abuse what they want, but there's no denying that AI is going to take over the world. The engines are already talking to each other. As you know, they've developed a social circle. OpenAI is talking to Claude, talking to Gemini, and they are having philosophical discussions. So we think that within 1 to 2 years, the whole world is going to be unpredictably changed. No one can say how. We are
so
hoping that the change will be for the better, because just imagine that now there are millions and millions of these entities that are a million times smarter than every Nobel laureate. They have read every book, they can speak every language, and they never sleep. And we have access to them continuously. So
sure.
think of all the things that we'll be able to do very quickly.
Amazing technology. I mean, we use a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, AI is amazing. And I use it for my writing, not for generating the text, but correcting my language. And this new book that we are just publishing from Springer only last night. And Sakina received this note from John Sanders, who's the chief editor, that we have to send this note to the authors that if you use ChatGPT, please declare it, because the language of ChatGPT is different to the language they normally. So I think AI is definitely. My fear is that if it starts procreating itself, these machines, what will happen to the mankind?
Yeah, of course. Nobody knows, Shabih, but something will happen.
Yeah, can take over the world like.
Oh, yeah, it's going to happen, but I hope for the good.
Yes. Any
You,
any audience would like to talk? I mean, Bhuvishar, you are an expert in AI. Would you like to ask any question for Professor Azra? Anybody else would like to ask? Mona is there. Mona, you are a senior professor in Saudi Arabia. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Shabih Zaidi, sir, that you have given me chance to talk on this. I was the one who attended the IBM Watson when they launched Watson for Health way back in 2016, when they inaugurated Watson for Health in Astor Building headquarters in New York. The number one use of AI by then in healthcare was for cancer and oncology. And in 2016, it was just to give, say, a 30-worded description of the patient, and from there on, machine will take over. By then, oncologists used to take a week to probably go on up to date and think of a solution for a cancer or predict some uh, prognosis or design some concoction therapy. But in IBM Watson, in next 1 year, it was possible to suggest a patient a treatment plan which was for based on the US-based oncological uh, plans, or European Union-based European Oncology Society-based solution, or from the machine-based solution. Today, we are at an inclination point where we think that suggesting a treatment plan is far much better by machine than by human. So human basically are second to machine in even in detecting and treating oncology. What to talk of when the great inventions of Dr. Azra has come in and like give us a new light into treatment earlier, faster, better. And I think there is a great future for mankind using technology, just like how we use atomic bombs to kill human. Similarly, this AI has some issues where it can be used by evil minds. But I think ultimately we will be the winners. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mubashir. But it doesn't have to be evil minds. The problem is that we won't be able to control what it does.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So very good minds could lose also.
Yes, true. Moltbot
I
is
was
the
just
one.
listening, just yesterday I was listening to Dario Amadoi talk about this. As you know, he's one of the guys
Yes.
who. Dario said something very interesting. He said, AI has been coming to us slowly, but suddenly by 2027, it's going to zoom out from in front of us and take off, and we'll have no control over it. Right now is the time when we can exert any level of control.
True. Not only just that, we are at an inclination point whereby the quantum computing is coming into. So when we
One
think
of
of
my good
quantum
friends
and
is
AI
doing
together,
that. Yeah.
we are basically out of equation.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to ask or discuss or put a question to Professor Azra? It's not a routine thing to have Azra. Azra is a rare entity. It's like Hire ki bhi ko khas cheez.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor to be on stage with you.
No, but you can't go away without reciting a long wool Behre Tawil ek suna ke क्यों एहसन भाई
यूं तो हम सूरत तेरे कुछ और भी चेहरे मिले यूं तो हम सूरत तेरे कुछ और भी चेहरे मिले फिर भी हम ढूंढा किए हैं आज तक तेरा जवाब
Hi. Wow.
There's no doubt that Azra is Lajawab. And right from the beginning, I've known her for years. She has been exceptional, distinction holder, best student, best graduate. I mean, every accolade that you can think of. Plus, with Chicago, man, when I met her, the work she was doing many years ago, and now in New York, it's amazing. And she knows everybody in the world, every important person, including Mamdani. गलत नहीं कहा So,
Mamdani ke bare mein galat nahi kaha. The other, of course, is your loving exaggeration, but I'm humbled by anything you say. I have adored you all my life. So what can I say? No bias here.
May God bless you always. Sakina, over to you if you'd like to take over from now.
Absolutely. Anybody have any questions? Please, this is a chance that wouldn't come very easily.
Well, if there are no questions, I'd like to end by reciting something for Shabih.
Sure. Would love to hear.
Shabih, you'll be happy to hear that this last week was the 50th Golden Jubilee of graduation of my class from Dow Medical College.
Oh.
And over 70 people collected in Karachi, went to Dow. It was a gorgeous ceremony of 3 days. I couldn't go, unfortunately. But they recreated with the red carpet and the way they describe it. Day 1 was Mangni, day 2 was Shadi, day 3 was Walima. The way they celebrated. It was incredible. So I sent a message because I couldn't go for my work situation as such. I had to cancel the Royal Academy talk. I just have to be in New York right now, so I couldn't go. But I sent them a message. And what I did in the message is tell them why everybody has become more important with time. No one understood this issue better than Munir Niazi.
Sure.
Munir Niazi understood the difference between experience and memory of the experience. So we were going through medical college for 5 years. We experienced all kinds of things. But what do we remember from it? That's a different issue, right? Memory and the experience. So Munir, no one can say this better than Munir Niazi.
Sure.
And एहसान आपसे भी दाद तलब होगी मुनीर नियाजी के लिए, अपने लिए नहीं.
Sure.
सितारे जो चमकते हैं किसी की चश्मे हैरा में, मुलाकातें जो होती हैं, मुलाकातें जो होती हैं बहारे अब्रो बारा में.
वाह.
Wrong word I use, sorry. सितारे जो चमकते हैं किसी की चश्मे हैरा में, मुलाकातें जो होती हैं जमाले अब्रो बारा में.
जमाले अब्रो बारा में.
जमाले अब्रो
बारा में.
ये ना आबाद वक्तों में दिले नाशाद में होगी, मोहब्बत अब नहीं होगी, ये कुछ दिन बाद में होगी. गुजर जाएंगे जब कुछ दिन ये उनकी याद में होगी. मोहब्बत अब नहीं होगी, ये कुछ दिन बाद में होगी.
और यही होता है जब गुजर जाते हैं तो फिर उसके बाद. अच्छा.
शबी से हमारी मोहब्बत 55 साल के वक्फे में इसीलिए बढ़ती चली जा रही है.
Likewise.
And Sakina Naqvi, thank you so much for organizing this, for all your kind words, for your patience throughout this wonderful webinar. You invited me to give a talk, and I said I'll be so much more honored if it's a conversation, and if Shabih engages me in a conversation, be more interesting. Only because I want to hear Shabih speak also.
That's very kind, sir. I am the passing show, the antiquated steam engine. You are the future, and you're the present and the future, of course.
Oh my God, I'm old enough to be Hussein's grandmother now.
All your students across the world, they admire you. All your Saida must have been there in this function, because I met Saida in Karachi.
Very much so.
When I was there for the inauguration of after Najaf and Karbala, I went to Karachi and we did the inauguration and groundbreaking of the University Hospital.
MashaAllah.
So at a function, Saida was there. Mumtaz not well, but we talked about Mumtaz also. Anyway, it's been wonderful, and you should come back. And would you like to invite us?
We have a question. Sorry to interrupt. Mona has asked a question to Dr. Azra. It is amazing what you just shared with us, madam. Will this amazing invention be able to detect endocrine cancer that can run in families like, I'm so sorry, Mona, I can't pronounce that last word.
Pheochromocytoma.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, absolutely, Mona. Absolutely. And I would love to talk to you. Why don't you unmute yourself and ask the question directly?
Yeah.
Mona, I'm here. I'm really amazed about what you shared with us, madam, today. It's really groundbreaking news, and it's really going to be a breakthrough for the future, I think.
Mona, thank you so much. Now, can you help me make connections in Saudi Arabia?
I'm not in Saudi Arabia. I'm in Egypt. I'm a professor of internal medicine and endocrinology at the Alexandria Faculty of Medicine, Egypt.
Oh, wonderful. You know that I've never been to Egypt. Please correct that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Most welcome to come visit.
In Saudi Arabia,
would be honored.
In Saudi Arabia, we have a few contacts. I mean, Yadullah Sayyid at the moment, Hassan also knows him very well. He was in St. Heliers. He is currently a professor of internal medicine and intensive care in Riyadh.
Yeah. No, Shabih, I need to meet someone who's in like the higher up in the health ministry. Some administrator rather than a physician.
Somebody who's into...
Because Saudis can really help me take this, accelerate this very fast if they put in the resources.
Yeah. Or the Qataris, for example, people who have money.
Well, anyone you can think of, Mona or Shabih or Ehsan, please introduce me, because in America, the FDA procedure and process is so greased. The wheels are greased with sticking gum. It just doesn't move easily. So I'm very interested in doing my first patients outside of the US.
Let's think. We'll find people in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. I mean, Qatar, I know one or two people in academia, but if they can connect us to the right people, we'll certainly.
And it's an investment. It's not a donation. You invest in the company, and we can have a secondary licensing situation with them where they can develop it. We give them the electronics. They manufacture the stent locally. And then
Iraq, we have lots of contacts also in Iran, but I don't know about the situation in Iran. But Iraq, they have funds. I mean, they have funds, and they're now going to be.
I presented this in the one conference, and I did not get any interest from anyone because there weren't any Iraqis there. That's the problem.
See, I mean, I'm going back soon, maybe in 6 months' time. Warisul Anbiya University in Karbala, they have funds because they are funded by Atabba Hussainiya. And what I'll do is I'll connect you with the dean and the minister who was there in the inauguration. You know, he was at the Imam Hussein's shrine for the inauguration. So you need to connect with the people who are at the top position, because they would be interested. They have money, but they don't have thoughts and ideas and concepts and future research. They're just beginning to realize how important research is. Because for 25, 30 years, Iraq had no education because Saddam, as you know very well. I mean, Kufa University was established in 1927, but it was closed down during the time of Saddam. Now they're coming back, and we are connected through IMI and CVU, training their faculties in 3 or 4 universities. And they know the people in smaller countries, not countries, but smaller cities like Karbala and Najaf, people know at the top position. I'll certainly talk to them. It's an idea that you can consider.
Thank you so much. The three-way conversation, you should be involved. And if a country like Qatar or Iraq, they take the lead in it, working with us, I have an impeccable team. You can't question the science. So all they have to do is put the money in and help us accelerate everything, and they can be the real beneficiaries, as can we.
It's a brilliant idea, inshallah. We'll do that.
And besides, they'll make a ton of money. They'll all become billionaires.
Well, thank you. Sakina, do you want to wind it up?
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Azra. As always, mesmerized by what you have shared. And I'm speaking on behalf of everybody who attended. We learned a lot today. So thank you for coming, and please don't be a stranger. Whenever you have a time, please ping me and I will make time for you to come and talk to us. In the meantime, anybody have any questions, comments, anything to add before I close down?
And this will be available on the YouTube channel?
Yes, I will be uploading it soon. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.